Hi, I'm Joe Sondow. I'm going to show you a little bit of HTML and CSS done using Semantic XHTML and Skinnable CSS. The goal here is to write HTML that has absolutely no sense of style, none whatsoever.
Like mine.
And Dick's especially.
Perhaps using a different definition of the word style. What we're talking about here is that the HTML has only the meanings of what's going to go into the web page, not anything about where or how to display it. This is the appearance of the HTML that I wrote on the plane with no CSS applied. It is hideous, and in fact there is no submit button. This registration form doesn't even work. If I go look at my HTML for it, oh dear, now I'm going to lose some time because I've lost my...
Go to the window menu.
File open recent.
Go to
yeah, open recent, hang on.
on.
No, I just need to open my recent projects, which is sad. Here we go. Okay, so my index.jsp, skipping the tiny scriptlet that I cheated with at the top, I've got here little notes here. devguru.com is a great place for looking up CSS. CSS Zen Garden, if we have a few seconds, we'll look at that. But down here I've got divs, class registration, class header, class logo, ahref with a word. I've got navigation with an unordered list, a list with a link. Just nothing much going on here except classes for CSS to deal with later. Then I've got my main with a form, div, a label, an input, a class, a label, an input, and a submit. And finally down here I've got input type image source, and here's where I'm cheating just a little bit, images/empty.gif, so that the browser doesn't complain when I show it like this and I show nothing in the front. Now, when I pass in a skin name to this, I'm going to choose which CSS file to display, and it's going to display using graphics defined entirely in the CSS, as well as a fully functional form here with a registration submit button, and all these things are links to real destinations. The alternative that I made last night is Sunshine, the exact same HTML, where not only are the graphics switched, but if you look at the position of the form, you'll see that it's changing places. That's because the CSS just defines where the things go on the page. I could have done even more substantial changes, but I just want to show the general idea. So let's look for 1 second at the CSS. The Midnight CSS defines in the context of that registration class. Notice I didn't use any long class names here. I just said in my HTML that my container ship should define my environment. So I want to say I'm in the registration scenario. This is my registration page. So I have a big div in my body that says this is the registration situation. Within that, I have, this is my class name, dot means class name, space dot header. So there's something with a dot with a class name of header, and here it is. That should be defined in a certain way. However, I don't stop there. I say within the header, within the something class logo, and then there's an anchor tag. At that point, I style this element using CSS. And I do it using multiple class names for container ship, so I avoid long repetitive class names, which are generally brittle and kind of hard to understand. I put all my CSS styles on one line because then I can tell the differences and similarities between different styles. If you use the standard Eclipse auto format, you will not know heads or tails what's going on in your CSS. This allows you to artistically line things up so that the next person who reads it knows what you were trying to do, and that this was 276 pixels and this was 26. You try to put styles close together whenever possible. There is no automatic way to do this so far. This is just a matter of artistry. Then at the bottom I define all of my images based on backgrounds. This is the CSS way of applying images. Got 1 minute left. So in here I have 0 images, and yet I want this to be a very graphical, beautiful page. Of course, it's my attempt as an engineer to make something beautiful. This is not beautiful, but it has graphics. And the most interesting part, in my opinion, is the submit button. This is a graphic and it's a background image. The background image is defined down here, div class submit, input type image, just a normal submit button as an image, source empty.gif, which is blank. And that's important because the foreground of this has nothing in it. 30 seconds. The image is going to be defined down here, where I say within the context of a registration class element, I've got a main, I've got a form. I put this in caps as a convention to say that this is an HTML tag type. And then there's a submit class type, and then there's an input. I know there's only one thing in that situation that exists, and that's my register button. So I define this image, or in the Midnight skin, I define it as a different image. And in this way, I can have the same page with multiple brands.